So I think that Elon Musk really correctly believes that the way forward for his businesses is through politics. If you can win the political side of the aisle, then his businesses will absolutely thrive. This is a stock that is just going to the moon because of the OpenAI halo effect. So that halo effect is very real. And I think it
Yeah.
means you want to stay invested in the OpenAI ecosystem. I don't think it means you want to chase Oracle, but I think as soon as you get rid of that ceiling, there's so much pent up energy and demand there that they're gonna burst through that ceiling and never look back. So if you have patience, I would look in the biotech AI sector for some potential long term winners.
Hi, and welcome to Being Exponential with Luke Lango, where we'll go over the economy, the markets, lifestyle, technology, and a couple of stocks, all from an exponential perspective. My name is Brooke. It is July 8th. Let's dive right in. Okay, Luke, let's dive right in. A lot of stuff happened last week, but what I want to talk about is Elon Musk's America First Party. There is a certain irony to a South African billionaire starting a party called the America First Party. But he does have some pretty salient points regarding the ever increasing deficit in America. I'd love to get your view on that.
Yeah, so I think that the consensus belief is that this is just a chest puffing match between two billionaires, and that this is just the latest development in that. Elon Musk is starting his own political party, and it's just to kind of get at Trump and make him, irk him off a little bit and whatnot. But I actually think that that consensus is wrong. From a investment perspective, if I had to invest in a political party, I would invest in the America Party. I am very bullish on that actually gaining a lot of traction over the next several weeks, months, and maybe even years into 2028. And the reason for that is, I would say, threefold. One is Elon Musk, I think, is going to go all in. Okay. I don't think he's going to halvesy this one. I think he's going all in with this. I think he's going to dedicate a lot of his resources, a lot of his time, a lot of his effort, a lot of his money into building this party. I think he sees it as the way forward for his businesses. I think he believes that Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, these are industry or companies that are on the cutting edge of developing technologies that are currently and will even see more regulatory oversight. Right? Think about the Optimus robot over at Tesla, okay? That is a first of its kind humanoid robot that, yeah, when it becomes a thing, is going to attract so much regulator attention, not to mention it has such huge government applications, whether it's in military or police or whatever it may be. Same with SpaceX, right? SpaceX, a lot of their contracts are government related. I think space is becoming a new battleground for governments. Look at what happened in the Middle East. I think one of the reasons we were able to pull off that strike so well, the U.S. was able to pull off that strike so well on the Iranian nuclear sites, is because of spatial intelligence, intelligence from satellites. And so I think SpaceX has a huge tie-in with the government going forward. It already does, but I think it's going to grow larger and larger and larger. Larger. Neuralink, you got BCIs, right? I mean, of course, that's going to be the most regulated thing ever. So I think that Elon Musk really correctly believes that the way forward for his businesses is through politics. If you can win the political side of the aisle, then his businesses will absolutely thrive. And I think he'll convince his boards of directors at these companies, the board at Tesla, the board at SpaceX, the board at Neuralink, the board at all these companies, XAI. He's going to convince the boards that, yeah, this is what's best for the business's long term, and they're going to give him the green light to go ahead and shoot. Right now, that's not the case, but I think that's because Musk hasn't had a conversation with them. I think once Musk has a conversation with them, arguably the most convincing guy in the world, he's going to convince them that they need to give him some rope, and they are going to give him a lot of rope, I think, to go out and dedicate all of his time, resources, effort, money into building this American party. So that's the first reason I think that this is going to get some real traction. I think the world's most, he's the world's richest man. Is he the world's most powerful man? Maybe. He's going to go all in here. Number two is Americans are disillusioned with politics right now. Okay. I would say that, well, there's a Gallup poll out there that only 30% of Americans are satisfied with the way democracy is working in the United States. Back in the 90s, I was like 60%. Historically, it's been like 50, 60, 70%. We're down
Right.
at 30% now. So there's that pull out there. But I just think, I mean, when you go out and you talk to people about politics, you go out and Thanksgiving dinner, every Thanksgiving dinner is going to have the uncle that's riding the populist wave, and then the young cousin that's riding the socialist wave, and then everybody else in the middle that's kind of like, do we really have to listen to these two chat? Like, can't we just get normal?
I
Um,
pass the cranberry sauce, please.
yeah, it's like I don't like this. I don't care. Like, just don't raise my taxes too much. Give me clean air and just like keep everything else normal. Like a lot of us are very much in the middle ground of these two extremes. Yet, because of the two-party system, each party is catering more and more to the radical parts of it, right? And so you're seeing the Republican Party get more and more radicalized, riding this populist wave. You're seeing the Democratic Party get more and more radicalized, riding a socialist wave. And it seems like every single year they get more and more radical in either direction. Meanwhile, the rest of us are not. We're just kind of stuck in the middle. Like, I guess I don't like that radical that much, but I like this radical even less. So I'm going to go with this radical, right? So we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. I think a lot of us. I mean, we're looking for a middle ground. We're looking for centrist beliefs. We're looking for centrist policies. We're looking for a third option, any other option. Honestly, I mean, RFK Jr. had a lot of momentum, right? Until he didn't because of Trump, but he had a lot of momentum. And actually, I would say one of the reasons Trump won is because he enlisted RFK Jr. Into his campaign, more or less. And so I think that, yeah, a lot of people are looking for a third option, especially a lot of younger people are looking for a third option. And I think that, this is, if there were any time for a third option to have success, it would be now. To be sure, third parties have never been that successful in the history of the United States. It's been a two-party system forever. But, I don't think we have the conditions. We've never had the conditions that we have today, where people are so disillusioned by the radical nature of both parties, and I think that opens a door for a third party. And then number three, I think that the one thing that a lot of people are going to gravitate towards, people like me, like I am really attracted by this idea of a super tech first approach to governing. Okay, to governance. I think that the Democrats have kind of thrown in the towel on embracing a tech first approach. I'm not really sure what's going on over there, to be honest. I know that there's some AI regulations in California. There's definitely some green energy and clean energy stuff going on there. But as far as like their stance on AI, it's not really clear. They want to regulate it a lot, but that's pretty much all I know. On the Republican side, I think they like to pretend that they want to be pro AI, but frankly, I don't think that the people in charge know much about AI. I don't think that Trump knows much about AI. I don't think that Bissett knows much about AI. I don't think Lutnick knows much about AI. But you know who knows a lot about AI, a lot more than you, me, and 99.99999% of Americans is Elon Musk. Elon Musk knows a lot about AI. Owns XAI. They got the Grok AI model. This is a guy that I would trust to actually employ a successful tech first approach to governance. And that's the I would say flagpole policy that I think a lot of people, especially younger people, will gravitate towards. Yeah, let's use more tech in the government. Let's automate out desk jobs. Like, you want to drain the swamp, you want to reduce costs, you want to cut spending. To your point, you want to reduce the deficit. The way you do that is AI. Right, companies are doing it. It's corporate Ozempic. Companies out there are using AI, so much AI, to cut costs, improve margins, get bigger profits, and their stock prices are going up. They're being rewarded for that. Why aren't we doing that in the government? Doge, I think, was an attempt at doing that, but it was largely unsuccessful, and the cuts that were made were very unpopular on a wide basis. But I think that if we just start to use AI more robustly throughout the government, that's the ticket right there. That's the golden ticket. Do what companies are doing. Do what Meta is doing. Do what Microsoft is doing. Do what all those big tech companies are doing. Do it in the government, and you're going to get less costs, better outcomes, and happier Americans. Smaller deficits. You're going to get win-wins all around. So that is the policy that I think will win a lot of people over, and one of the reasons it will gain traction. This party will gain traction in the next few years. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to win 2028. I don't think it is going to win 2028, but I think it's going to gain enough traction to force change. So I think an inevitable outcome here is that all three parties, the American Party, Democrats, and Republicans, all of them embrace a more tech first approach to governance. To me, that's the inevitable outcome of this. Enough traction will be gained by the American Party to force the other two parties to try and win back some of those people by embracing a more tech first approach to government. So I do believe there are huge investment implications of Elon's new party, and the biggest of them is invest more in tech, because I think tech is about to sweep across the government in a way it just hasn't ever before.
Gotcha. Yeah, I did want to not necessarily counter your points, but I do bring up some just remark on some things. I'm glad you brought up Doge because I did want to say that that was Elon's first foray into the public sector, and it was largely unsuccessful. There was promised trillions in savings potentially, but at the end of the day, I think the receipt showed about $150 billion in savings, and in its wake, a lot of government positions were in disarray. A lot of government contracts, but across the board, there was a lot of upheaval, a little bit of chaos. But do you think with a more intentional approach with AI and technology, that would be a bigger boon on the government versus what it was? I guess my point being, I don't believe the government or that public office should be run like a business, but we could probably triangulate the AI to make it more government facing or public facing versus something that would appease a shareholder, right?
Yes, I would say, I mean, a couple of things there. One, Elon's first electric vehicle wasn't a massive hit. Elon's first rocket didn't go to the moon. The first foray for anyone into anything is never a massive success. If it is, it
Right.
was complete and utter luck. So I don't think that, just because Doge was a failure means that the American Party can't find ways to actually effectively cut costs. There is, I mean, yeah, whether or not the government should run like a business is a fantastic debate to have. I don't want to have that debate here and now because that could be an
Of course.
entirely different podcast episode. But I think we can all agree that the reduction of government spending is probably a must going forward, just given the amount of revenues that we're taking in versus the amount of spending we have every year and the deficits that we're running. That's unsustainable. I think everyone can agree that that's unsustainable. So there's two ways to fix that. You either increase revenues or you decrease costs. Increasing revenues is going to put a burden on Americans. It's probably going to mean higher taxes. Now you can tax the billionaires a lot more and all that stuff. You can do all that, but that's going to have a lot of pushback and a lot of lobbying against that. And there's a whole series of headaches that go with that. But the cutting cost thing is so easy because of technology that
Right.
I even think that 6 months ago, when the whole Doge experiment started, we were not where we are today with AI. AI is progressing so rapidly that I think the job replacement capability of AI in January of 2025 is significantly less than the job replacement capability of AI today in July of 2025. We are progressing exponentially with AI, and you are seeing Microsoft and Meta and all these companies reduce costs, reduce overhead by using AI to replace labor. If they're doing that, why should the government not follow suit? Why are we not seeing the government follow suit? I'm not seeing that. I didn't see that in the 4 years under Biden. I'm not seeing that right now under Trump. But I do believe that Elon would employ a policy like that. And again, I'm not going to say that his party is going to win. I don't think it will. Very long shot. But I think there's going to be enough people that gravitate towards that idea of use AI to actually drain the swamp. Like drain the swamp is a term that everybody's used for a long time. Both parties want to say it. Drain the swamp, drain the swamp, drain the swamp. Okay. Well, you really want to drain the swamp. There's one way to do that. That's AI. And so again, I think that the one inevitable outcome here is that the government, whether Republicans are in charge, Democrats are in charge, or you get the long shot that the America Party takes control. I don't think it matters. I think the one inevitable outcome here is that all three parties push more towards a tech first approach to governance, which means more tech spending from the government and less spending on other things. So that means more money going towards a rocket lab or a SpaceX to launch more satellites in space. So hopefully avoid, not to put a downer on this, but the tragic incident that we've had in Texas over the past week, right? With the floods and horrible, horrible, horrible situation, massive loss of life. I would
Yeah.
venture to argue if we had more satellites in space, if we had more AI capabilities integrated into those satellites, analyzing weather patterns and predicting potential natural disasters like that, then that outcome could have been avoided. This disastrous, tragic outcome in Texas could have been avoided. AI is the key to that. So I would say we need more satellites. We need more AI intelligence. Planet Labs can help there. Black Sky can help there. We would need more. I don't want to send troops off to die in any war. I don't want to send people off to die. But you know what? Go damage a robot. Feel free. Let's get Optimus robots on the front lines, right? Let's get these humanoid robots out there. These humanoid or these dog robots too. Trump is employing robotic dogs down at Mar-a-Lago to walk the premises, and they very cutely say "do not pet" on them. Maybe we can throw a picture of that up on this podcast. These little robot dogs have "do not pet" on them. It's the funniest thing. But these are things that need to be done more at scale. And if we do that at scale, yeah, it's going to be a huge short-term investment. But in the long run, the running cost of this are going to be dramatically lower than the running costs we have today, and hopefully with better outcomes, human life outcomes, really. The things that we talk about right now, human life, saving lives down in Texas from natural disasters, saving lives in the Middle East from wars and stuff like that. This is stuff that produces a lot of wins. And so that's why I think that this party is going to affect change. I really do think it's going to gain a lot of traction and it's going to affect change. Not saying the American Party is going to be the new party of the United States of America, but I think some of the beliefs therein are going to gain enough traction that they're going to force change amongst the two governing parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. Good
So I do want to go back to human lives specifically. I think a good chunk of what you were saying boils down to people lie, but numbers don't, right? The AI can't lie to us. It can't have a phony numbers in the mix. We will see the input and the output. However, when I was growing up, government jobs were one of the jobs that were secure, safe. You get a pension, you have a lifetime position. However, with the America First Party, this more AI forward, tech forward approach would, of course, cut a lot of these government positions. And this kind of just calls back to the AI job apocalypse we were talking about last week and even the week before that. So how do we mediate or remediate the tech forward but human lives aspect on a daily level, worker level?
Yeah, I mean, that's all it really is, right? I would say that the tech first approach of the America Party to governance is just the AI jobs apocalypse expanded into the government sector, right?
Mhm.
That's really all it is. And I think that, hey, it's happening in the private sector. You got to do it in the public sector, or else there's going to be this massive mismatch between the productivity of private sector goods and services versus public sector goods and services,
Right.
right? If Meta and Amazon and Netflix and all these companies start using AI to produce their goods and services, and the cost of production goes down, and the cost of servicing them goes down, and they sell them for a lot cheaper, but then the government doesn't do that, there's going to be this huge mismatch between the price and the efficiency efficiency and the quality of private sector goods and services and public sector goods and services. And that mismatch, I mean, all it's going to cause is a massive shift away from government stuff towards private sector stuff, which is going to
Mm,
cause a bigger revenue shortfall, I believe, on the public sector side, and even bigger deficits. So I think it's like, I don't think we really have a choice here. Like the choice has already been made. The genie's out of the bottle, the cat's out of the bag. Like they're using AI to do these things. Tesla's using AI to do these things. Meta's using AI to do these things. Microsoft's using AI to do these things. Everyone else has to play catch up, or else they're going to get left behind permanently, and that includes the United States government. So,
of course.
yeah, I think that at some point we're going to get this massive revolt against the tech first approach to everything, but it's like a growing pain. We have to get to it, we have to get through it, and we have to get to the other side of it. The option of not even getting to it, I don't think is a viable option anymore, because I mean, going global, if we don't do it, China's going to do it. And if China does it better than us and they're running the super efficient government, all of a sudden they become the global powerhouse. And I don't think that's an outcome that anybody in America at least really wants, especially not American politicians. So again, I just think it's all inevitable. And if it doesn't happen today, it's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen next month or next week or next quarter, next year. It's all inevitable, in my opinion. And that's why I think, again, the American Party can gain traction and will affect change. Tech first change. So, again, from an investment perspective, tying this back to investments, I see Elon do that. I see Elon push for that, and it tells me, hey, that is another massive tailwind being born in the labs for AI stocks, for tech stocks. Palantir, yeah, keep on buying dips there, because if this actually does happen and affects change, that change is going to be a huge positive for government spending on stuff like Palantir, Rocket Lab, Planet Labs, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, the hyperscalers, Alphabet. It's going to be a huge, huge boost for. Yeah, I just think this is yet another reason on tech stocks, on AI stocks, on that whole wheelhouse.
Got it. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I more or less agree. It is inevitable. We better get to it now than later. And I think what you mentioned before is the disillusionment in government. A lot of that is due to inefficiency, and the only way to make something more efficient is put AI in the mix, right?
That is, yes. AI is the efficiency unlock that the world needs right now. Like you wanna solve the affordability issue, you wanna solve cost of living issues, you wanna solve all that. Use technology, 3D print homes. Okay? Get rid of real estate agents who take away 5% for nothing. Okay?
Mm.
Use AI to automate that stuff. Just matchmake me like Match.com or like Tinder or whatever, right? Just matchmake me to a house. Like it's just there's so much inefficiency in the world, and it's human driven inefficiency. That's how I
100%.
view it. It's human driven inefficiency. All the AI jobs apocalypse really is going to do is remove inefficiencies from the system and remove people. Is going to sound so callous and so harsh, but I think it's true. I think the labor market got lazy. I think a lot of people just kind of were coasting. And they're just like, you know what? It's easy. It's Coastville. Like, I can just clock in, clock out. And AI is going to be a rude awakening. It's going to get rid of that sloth. Okay. It's going to get rid of that stuff. And what's going to be left is going to be the efficient people, the ones who are actually coming in to work hard and do what they were supposed to be doing from 9 to 5 and not just kind of coasting. This happened in big tech before any of this AI jobs apocalypse stuff happened. It's hitting the big tech world first. Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, they're all having their layoffs. I remember I have a lot of friends that work at those companies. I remember I had one friend back in 2018, 2019 that was just kind of like flabbergasted, just out of college, got a good gig up there, and was just flabbergasted. It's like how many people just go in there and just coast. Like they'll go up there, they'll sign these big contracts, like these $200,000, $300,000 a year salaries plus stock compensation, and they're just coasting. Right? They're not
Mm.
even putting in 2 hour days. They're just coding a little bit here, coding a little bit there, getting their projects done, and then going out and enjoying their day. They're completely coasting. That's why big tech is seeing the first round of layoffs. One, they have the AI, but two, everyone there was coasting and they realized it. So now they're like, all right, foot on the neck. Let's go. Like if you can't perform, then you're going to get cut. We know we had a lot of coasters. It's time to cut them. I think that's true of the entire labor market. I don't think that's
Right.
just in big tech. I think that's true everywhere. Real estate, construction, truck driving, whatever it may be. I think it's true everywhere. And so it's just going to make a more efficient job market.
Yeah. So in a sense, more of a market correction than an apocalypse.
I like that.
Uh,
That is exactly right. The market got too inefficient, and this is going to correct it back to an efficient state. That's how I feel, or that's what I think will happen.
gotcha. Yeah. And of course, the human brain is hardwired to think of the negative. It's hard to imagine the positives that'll come out in the next 10 years, but I'm sure I'm sure they'll be there.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be the positives are going to be in the stock market, capital asset holders. Right? That's where you have to be a capital owner. You can't be just a laborer because we talked about the AI jobs correction. We'll start using that word. It's much
Yeah.
friendlier. The AI jobs correction, not apocalypse, will be the biggest wealth transfer from the labor class to the capital class that I think we've ever seen in our lifetimes, if not
Yeah.
ever since the formation of capital markets. So yeah, that's where a positive is going to be gleaned is on the capital market side. But then I think, post the correction and post the transition, new jobs will appear that allow people to think more creatively, do more creative, freeing things. Maybe it's going to be more experience oriented stuff. Like I think there will be work on the other side, abundant work on the other side. But the transition period is going to be the hard part.
Of course. All right. So I do want to move to the market in this episode. Last week, the markets did blast higher. However, we're off to a pretty shaky start. There are talks about more trade war fears and just general headlines. Tell us why, Luke.
Yeah, I mean the trade war is back, right? It's making a little
Mm,
comeback. Trump passed his big beautiful bill, and now that that's passed, he's turning his attention back to the trade war, and it seems like now he's in a sprint to get it done. So the finish line he's setting up is August 1st, and he wants to sprint over the next 3 weeks and get deals done. And he's doing all the chest puffing and political theater necessary to get people to the negotiating table to get those deals done by August 1st, so that he doesn't have to extend the deadline again. Because truth is he doesn't want a trade war. He wants trade deals. But if he keeps extending the deadline, then like no one's going to take him seriously, right?
right.
It
We're
was
time.
July 9th. Now it's August 1st. If he has to push back again to September 1st or whatever, then all of a sudden it's, no one's going to take him seriously. So he needs to put the deadline in. He needs to be serious about the deadline, and he wants to get deals done before that deadline. So he's doing everything necessary, writing letters, 25% Japan, 25% South Korea, whatever it may be, 100, this is a firm deadline, all this stuff. If you don't, come to terms with us, we're going to boomerang you back to the April 2nd Liberation Day levels. So
Mm,
they're pulling out all the tricks. But as an investor, as an investment analyst, I don't know if you've seen the movie Coco, the Disney movie Coco. I got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, so I've seen it many
yeah.
times. And there's a line in that movie where the grandmother kind of goes up to a mariachi player and is like, "I know your tricks, mariachi." That's kind of how I feel about this when talking about the trade war. Like, I know your tricks, Trump. I know your
Right.
tricks.
Right. Right.
These are all just tricks up his sleeve, and they're gonna work. They're gonna get deals done. But I'm not gonna care about it from a market perspective. It's gonna cause a little bit of volatility, a little short term pullback, and then we bottom and rebound. No more than a 2 to 5% correction probably, and no more than a few weeks, and then we're back off to the races, and AI stocks are leading the charge higher. So, yeah, markets are a bit wobbly right now, or this week at least. But I don't think there's anything to it. I think it's noise. And when you look at kind of the technicals, I pulled up a chart of the markets for you here.
Yeah.
When you look at the technicals in the market, we were just due for a little bit of a pullback, right? This is that massive rally off the April low. So first off, this is the S&P 500. This is my technical chart on it. Since the AI bull market began in October of 2022, so late 2022. This green is the uptrend channel. Obviously, this is the stock price. The pink is the 20-day moving average. Your 50-day moving average is the green. Hundreds of the blue, 200s of the yellow. Got your RSI and your MACD here. So as you can see, we blasted above those previous highs from February of 25. We got into overbought territory on the RSI. RSI of about 76, 75.6. Pretty positive and blown out MACD. Way above the 50 and the 20 and the 100 and the 200 and all that stuff. So yeah, this is just a natural place to pause. So the fact that markets are pausing after getting so technically extended amidst some return of trade war drama makes complete sense. No cause for panic, no cause for alarm. Let them come in. Maybe the S&P, a very natural place for it to retest would be that previous high right around 6150. That's where the 20 days probably going to catch up pretty soon. So maybe we come back into that 6150, retest what was resistance becomes support, we bounce higher, and then the market rally resumes. So really not at all concerned about what's going on in the markets this week.
Yeah. I like to think of it from a macro level. It feels like the trade war news is a virus, and the market's kind of just slowly building up this immunity to it more and more at the first time. Terrible. But as it goes on, it's like, oh, I have a slight cough now. It's no big deal, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much that. That is a very very potent analogy. That's exactly what's going on. The first one was like, oh my gosh, are we gonna die? And
Right,
it's like we
right.
didn't die, and so we're gonna every time we kind of get a little sniffle again, we know it's just a sniffle, and we're gonna be okay. So that's exactly how the markets are interpreting it, and that is the correct interpretation. The interpretation we are employing at the very least when it comes to our
Hmm.
investment analysis.
Awesome. Okay. Let's pivot to tech. So back to Elon. He was at the top of this broadcast, but now he is releasing Grok 4.
Mhm.
And Grok, I've heard a lot of mixed news, but as time goes on, the capabilities of Grok seem to be getting better and better. Uh, is Grok the real deal, Luke? How do you feel about it? Even in terms of its competitors in OpenAI and even like Claude.
Yeah, I would say Grok is a fine LLM. It's a fine AI model. Grok 4 will probably be a nice step up, probably a good step up, but I don't view it as being at the level of ChatGPT, being at the
Right.
level of Gemini. I think that those models are superior for a few reasons. One, they've been up and running longer. Two, I think there's more talent at these companies, at ChatGPT, or at OpenAI, sorry, at Meta, at Alphabet. And three, there's more funding at those companies as well. And then four, they have a lot of really good data. I think this is where Grok has an upside advantage is they have access to all the Twitter data or X data. But I think that data is valuable. I just think that okay, Google has a lot of data too, and that data is probably more valuable than the Twitter data. Um, OpenAI, I don't think they have a data advantage. I think that they're partnering really well to try and get a data advantage. They don't really have one there. I think Meta's got the best data. So when I kind of look at the four pillars of competitiveness here, I think on funding, I think XAI is behind, Grok is behind. On talent, I think XAI, Grok
Hmm.
is behind. On data, I think they're competitive. And then on time, in terms of how long it's been around and how much it's trained and whatnot, and compute resources, I think it's behind. So I think Grok is fine, but I think it's really only competitive in one of the key pillars of AI model building and kind of lagging in the other three.
Okay. You
And
did
then I
mention.
think one thing to mention there is that, when you look at Tesla stocks, I did want to pull this up to
Yeah.
people. A lot of people are thinking about buying Tesla stock or in Tesla stock. There's a lot priced into Tesla stock, right? The EV business is struggling dramatically right now. It's all about the future upside expectations for Optimus, future upside expectations for self-driving for autonomy. And that's priced into the stock because when you look at its sales multiple, we're at 9 times sales right now, or EV to revenue. That's pretty much in line, a little 4% above its 5-year average. So that's a pretty rich multiple. You look at its P multiple, we're at 129 times forward earnings, which is a 41% premium to its 5-year average, around 91 times. You look at EV EBITDA, we're at 61 times EV EBITDA. 46.4 times the 5-year average, 32% 100% premium. Look at EV/EBIT, you're at 117.5 times versus 76 times 5-year average, 55% premium. The only thing it's trading at a discount to is on its book value, and no one cares about book value for Tesla. So when you look at its important valuation multiples, whether it's PE, EV/EBITDA, EV/EBIT, or EV revenue, we're talking about a 4% to 55% premium on the valuation. And to me, that tells me that, hey, a lot of future expectations are priced into Tesla stock. So if you're going to be a buyer of Tesla stock here, you got to either really believe in the upside of Grok to transform Tesla's business somehow. Again, that's a different business, but that could have, spillover effects to Tesla because it's owned by Musk. Two, the upside of Optimus, or three, the upside of autonomous vehicles, of robo-taxi. For me, it's Optimus. That's the thing that gets me excited about Tesla, and that's why I think that the valuation actually makes sense. But in order to be a buyer of Tesla stock here, you have to believe in one of those three things. So one of those three things is going to be huge. Either Grok's going to be huge, Optimus is going to be huge, or Robotaxi is going to be huge. If none of them are going to be huge, then Tesla stock doesn't make sense at 129 times forward earnings here. You got to believe in one of those things. I believe in number two, Optimus being huge.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know with those tax rebates on EVs dying, and I think it's September. It might be a potential to buy Tesla on a dip if that the big qualifier here is if you believe in Optimus being what Elon says it's going to be, right?
Yes. I think that with Tesla, I think the EV business is just, I'm not going to say it's dead and gone, but it's
Right.
not a growth engine anymore. So in order for a stock to trade at 130 times forward earnings, you need big growth engines. And if the growth engine of the EV business is dead, then you need the growth engine from somewhere else. And I believe that Optimus will provide that growth engine. But you need to believe one of those things. Either it's going to be Grok, Optimus, or self-driving cars.
Yeah. 2 out of 3. Don't. It's not looking too good for 2 out of 3. So let's hope Optimus does pave the way for Tesla to keep growing. Now, you did mention Zuck earlier. I wanted to bring up Meta. He has thrown down a lot of capital on hiring talent. He's building the super team. I think with the amount of people he's got currently, it's enough to have been a unicorn, to invest it into a unicorn, really. So, like, what do you think of these moves that Zuck is making for his
Oh,
almost
I love them,
Avengers of
man.
AI?
I love them. I absolutely love what Zuckerberg is doing. I'm a big believer that it all starts with great talent. Great
Mhm.
talent builds great products. Great products build great businesses, and great businesses become great stocks. You want a great stock, it all starts with great talent. That's what Meta is doing right now. They understand the next 10 years, even beyond that, probably is going to be defined by who has the best AI products. In the next 10 years, the best AI talent is going to create the best AI products, is going to create the best AI businesses, is going to lead to the best AI stocks. He knows that that cycle for the next 10 years is going to be all about AI. So what is he doing right now? It's a land grab, a talent grab for AI talent. He's going out there and he's getting everybody that he thinks is, worthy of all these dollars that he's throwing at them to build artificial super intelligence, or AGI, artificial general intelligence, call it what you want, AI that actually profoundly changes the world. Now the question there is does that really matter? Like, is there a LeBron of artificial intelligence model making? Is there a Michael Jordan? Is there a Lionel Messi? Is there a Cristiano Ronaldo? Do those really exist? I think so. Like, I know enough of these people to know that some of them are a lot better than others. And I do think that I don't know the LeBron of this space, but it
Right.
sounds like Meta's trying to find him. I do think that there is a LeBron of this space. There is a Michael Jordan of this space. There is a Lionel Messi of this space, and Meta is the only company that seems to be really aggressively trying to find them. Now, to be clear, the LeBron is not Elon. The LeBron is those guys aren't coders. Those guys, they're faces. and they're business visionaries and architects. They're not the ones actually making the AI. They're not the LeBron. So to me, it looks like Meta is the only company really aggressively trying to find that talent, and I respect it. I really respect the chase of the talent. They're successfully landing a lot of people, so it seems, and I think those people are going to do something great together. When America had its back up against the wall in the 1930s and 40s, and we were fighting Germany, what did we do? We assembled the best minds in the world to build the atomic bomb. That's what Meta's doing for
Right.
AI. Zuckerberg's trying to assemble the best minds in AI in the world to build artificial superintelligence. So back in the 1930s and 40s, it worked for us. It worked for America. Oppenheimer, we all saw the movie, right? Like, it worked. And I think it only worked because of the great talent that was doing it, that was pushing for it. And so if Meta is doing that here now with AGI, with artificial superintelligence, yeah, it makes me really, really bullish on Meta stock. And so I think that's one that's going to continue to push higher, thanks to this talent grab, this aggressive talent grab. And when you look at the stock chart, what's really interesting is this is actually a logarithmic look at Meta stock over the last 12 years, going all the way back to 2014. So basically, its IPO. And you can see outside of the 2022 tech crash, it's really followed this nice and narrow channel. And right now, we're still in it near the top side of it. So maybe not a great time to buy right now. But so long as Meta's staying in this channel, I think just it's a long-term winner. You buy and you hold it, you let it keep running. And I think right now, given the talent grab situation, yeah, you just want to keep on owning this one. Maybe buy it on dips if it comes in a little bit. But this to me is a long-term winner, especially as AI starts to really expand throughout the economy over the next few years.
Gotcha. Yeah, don't bet against Zuck. History is proven, right?
I am a fan of Zuck would be a weird way of saying it because I think I'm not a fan of what social media has done to the world, but I'm a fan of how
Right.
Zuck runs companies.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a guy who, I mean, we ended up recommending Metastock to our subscribers right below $90, really, and that was because everybody thought that. I mean, remember, this guy's been on Capitol Hill so many times, and
Hmm.
multiple times it felt like Meta, the Facebook business, was just going to blow up. Right? There was, I think, the Cambridge Analytica scandal way back in the
Right.
late 2010s, and then there was, the 2022 stuff. Like, there's just so much that didn't go his way, and yet here we are now. Stocks at all-time highs. One of the biggest winners in AI. They have Meta AI. They have the Meta glasses. They're working on Orion. Like, wow. Does anybody remember Cambridge Analytica? No, and that,
No.
that that is the art of a masterful CEO. So I really do think that he is really, really good at running companies, and he's somebody I wouldn't bet against when it comes to creating the next iteration of AI, artificial superintelligence.
Got it. Now, there is one person who might not be happy about the team that Zuck is building, Sam Altman, founder of OpenAI. Uh, a lot of his talent has been siphoned away.
Mhm.
However, it looks like OpenAI is striking a deal with Oracle and also AMD, I believe. So, you got the old guard of big tech and then maybe a future potential NVIDIA competitor. What do you make of these moves in OpenAI, Luke?
Yeah, so Sam Altman's not happy with Zuck. He's actually gone after him in some podcast, saying that's not how you build a healthy company culture. And it might not be how you build a healthy company culture, but I think it's going to work for Zuck. I think OpenAI is fine. I think OpenAI is great. I think they're the leader of AI. I think Meta is trying to catch them, and that's why Meta is being so aggressive. They know that they're behind. OpenAI is the leader. ChatGPT is the best AI model out there, the best LLM out there right now.
Yep.
It has the most name recognition, the most brand recognition. It's the one that's downloaded on everybody's phone. It's the easiest to use. It has the most capabilities in my usage of them. So I really do think that OpenAI is the leader. I think Sam Altman is another person I would not bet against. And the fact that they're securing all these deals, right? I think one of the reasons Elon Musk is getting so upset with Donald Trump is because Elon and Sam Altman these guys don't like each other, right? Zuck doesn't like Sam. Sam
Mhm.
doesn't like Zuck. Sam doesn't like Elon. Elon doesn't like Sam. I don't know where Elon and Zuck stand. Wasn't there was a cage fight that was supposed to happen, right? Wasn't the MMA or
Yeah,
whatever? So,
yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, these guys just don't like each other. They got massive egos. And so Elon thought he was going to be all buddy buddy with Trump, and then Trump's like, you know what? I like the Sam guy too. And Elon's like, I hate Sam, but Trump's like, I like his AI. And so then Trump, picked Sam to do a lot of things like Project Stargate and all those projects in the Middle East as well. Saudi Arabia and all those data centers. That was OpenAI stuff. So
Right.
OpenAI is actually kind of taken over as Trump's, I would say, go-to AI platform, AI company. People thought it was going to be Elon and Tesla and Grok and XAI and all that stuff, but it's not, right? Like there was a falling out there because Trump. I think Trump chose Sam over Elon, and so now, yeah, I think OpenAI has become the go-to sovereign AI of choice, if you will, for the United States. And so you get these expanded deals with Oracle, with AMD. You get more AI data centers in the United States, in Saudi Arabia, throughout the Middle East. OpenAI is the architect behind all of this. They have lots of funding. SoftBank is all in on them. That's Masa's
Mm.
son, biggest tech investor in the world, pouring tens and tens of billions of dollars into that company, publicly saying he's all in with them, ride or die with them. So there's so much support behind Sam Altman and OpenAI that I think they are going to be, if not one of the biggest winners, or if not the biggest winner, at least one of the biggest winners in the AI race, the grand AI race.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, ChatGPT, the name recognition is it's crazy. It's like when you think of laundry detergent, you think of Tide. So people just say Tide. ChatGPT is almost that with AI. It's like you say ChatGPT, and it's like, oh, that's AI. It's kind of nuts what he's been able to build in. When did it drop? 2023? That
Late 2022. Yeah, and when you think about
22?
like
Yeah.
the halo effect of OpenAI, I mean, look, so we talked
Right.
about Oracle partnering with them. Look at what it's done to its stock.
Yeah.
I mean, this Oracle stock over the last, since late 2022. Look at this just straight line it's gone on above, what it was its historical trading channel, just complete. I mean, it's gone complete skyrocket. This
Yeah.
is this is a
Parabolic.
big deal move higher. And valuation wise, it now puts the stock, this is its valuation chart. We talked about, premiums. 34 times forward earnings, historical average 18 times, 86% premium, 62% premium on EV EBITDA, 74% premium on EV EBIT, 66% premium on EV revenue. So this is a stock that is just going to the moon because of the OpenAI halo effect. So that halo effect is very real. And I think it
Yeah.
means you want to stay invested in the OpenAI ecosystem. I don't think it means you want to chase Oracle because Oracle, I don't like Oracle at 34 times forward earnings when its historical average multiple is 18 times, and there's really not that much more incremental growth happening at the company.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't like that trade, but I like the sticking with OpenAI and its OpenAI ecosystem and the halo effect.
Yeah. What about AMD? I know that was another one of the big
Oh,
companies.
I absolutely love AMD, man. I think AMD is great. So the difference between AMD and Oracle to me is, so remember this is the valuation chart for Oracle. We're 86% premium, 62% premium, 70, massive premium to historically normal valuations because of the AI halo, right? But let's look at AMD and we're trading it, look at that. Complete
Wow.
opposite. We're at a 28 times forward earnings multiple. Historical average is 33 times. 5-year average is 33 times. So we're at a 15% discount, 6% discount on EBITDA, 15% discount on EBIT, 10% discount on revenue. Again, no one cares about price to book. But so yeah, this is a stock that has all of the ingredients of an AI winner. Does have that exposure to OpenAI, partnerships with OpenAI, helping build AI models, et cetera, et cetera. Yet, as opposed to a lot of companies that are in that halo effect, it's trading at a massive discount to its historical normal valuation. So that's why I actually really, really, really like AMD here. That's the stock I'd be buying, not Oracle.
Not Oracle. Yeah. That's amazing. Okay. Now, I want to pivot to something we talked about a couple of weeks ago is rare earth magnets. We talked
Mhm.
about them for a little while. It seems like that Trump and China have maybe struck an agreement there. What are we looking at in the future with rare earth metals and magnets?
Yeah, so rare earth metal stocks have taken a bit of a step back because that what you said, China and the U.S. have come to an agreement where China is going to continue exporting rare earth metals and magnets to the United States, and so that's like, oh, it creates less demand for U.S. stuff, but I don't think so. Like
Hmm.
at the end of the day, Robotics are going to be, well, there's going to be, let's start at this step one. There's going to be a massive AI arms race between the United States and China. There already is a massive AI arms race between
Yeah.
the United States and China. DeepSeek versus ChatGPT, Baidu versus Alphabet. Like there's a massive race going on. Apollo Go, their self-driving program versus Waymo, our self-driving program, Google self-driving program. So there's already a massive race happening. That race is going to intensify in the next 5 to 10 years, and I think a center point of that race, if not the center point of the race, the epicenter of the race, is going to be around robotics. I think robotics, physical AI, is the next wave of AI. I think it's going to be the biggest wave of AI yet. Humanoid robots are going to be front and center of that. So there's going to be this massive humanoid robotics race between the U.S. and China. If you are competing with somebody on something, you do not want that somebody else, your competitor, to be supplying you with something you need to build the thing you're competing on, right? If we need to build humanoid robots, we don't want China, our biggest competitor in building humanoid robots, to be supplying us with the rare earth metals and magnets we need to build those robots. Because if the race gets too close, push come to shove, back against the wall, they cut us off. And all of a sudden, we don't have the rare earth magnets we need to build robots. It's going to take us 5 to 10 years to build that infrastructure, and then they're 5 to 10 years ahead, and we lost, right? That's 5 to 10 years you're not going to get back. You probably never recover from. So we cannot do that, even though there was an agreement. Yes, China can still keep sending us rare earth magnets and metals. I think American companies, I think the American government realizes that's nice for now, but we still need to invest heavily in developing our own domestic rare earth metals and mining and magnet infrastructure. We need to develop that now. We need to be fast. We need to have urgency with developing that. So any weakness that we have seen in rare earth metal stocks, US rare earth miners and stuff, I think is a buying opportunity. The first and the biggest one, obviously, we've talked about before, is MP Materials. You can see
Yeah.
here MP had that big move in May and June up to this super high level, way overbought, and now it's come back because there was that deal. But I think we can find some support here, pretty major technical level right around that $31 level. I think we can find support here and bounce, and I think this uptrend, this green channel uptrend, does persist again. Just because the US and China came to an agreement on some rare earth metals does not mean investment into things like MP will slow down. It should accelerate as the need for robotics and having a domestic supply chain for robotics escalates and intensifies in the coming months and years. So I like these stocks on their recent pullback.
Mm. Now, speaking of robotics, Amazon officially deployed that millionth robot.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of robots has overtaken the human employees of Amazon. Um, I think big news. Now, is that just a flashy headline, or is this the almost watershed event in terms of the robotic workforce?
Yeah, it's the watershed moment, and we've talked about AI job apocalypse. It's not just white collar work. It's not just desk work. It's physical labor too. That's what the
Mm,
physical AI trend represents. Self driving cars coming for all the drivers, Uber drivers, truck drivers. Humanoid robots are just warehouse automation stuff coming for factory workers and whatnot. So I think it's a watershed moment. I think it says, yeah, Amazon's going all in on this stuff. And again, this kind of goes back to our first topic of like, government embracing AI. Like if Amazon has robots working in all its warehouses and it can produce items for such a cheap cost, then the government needs to be able to do that too if it
right.
wants to sustain itself. Because it is kind of a little bit in competition with, Amazon and all the other companies out there. It doesn't want to be so far behind that it just feels antiquated. So if Amazon's got a million robots out there, the U.S. government needs to just start integrating robots into its manufacturing processes as well.
Got it. Yeah. Big moment. I think it might have just gotten swept by with everything else that's happening right now, but yeah, definitely that first big moment in terms of how we view our workforce, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I do want to talk about Robinhood as well. We did mention them a little bit last week. That was one of our stocks, but I wanted to dig into their a tokenized trading strategy. I think it's really cool. Like one of the big benefits is it's instantaneous. You know, got to wait for for transfers or anything like that. Well, how do you feel about it, Luke?
Yeah, I think it's the future. I mean, actually, SoFi just got into the game today. We Tuesday, July 8th, got an announcement from SoFi saying they're teaming up with some fund managers to launch private market funds on their trading platform. So now retail people like you and me, for as little as $10, can invest in like OpenAI and SpaceX and all this stuff. I think that the more I mean, the big picture trend here is the democratization of
Yeah.
investment vehicles, right? Like it used to be only venture capitalists with, millions and tens of millions of dollars could invest in these startups that could go on to change the world and deliver, 100x, 200x, 1000x returns. Now that's being democratized, access to those rather is being democratized to folks like you and me, to retail investors. Robinhood's doing it through tokenization. SoFi's doing it through partnering with emerging market or with fund managers. I think as of right now, the fund manager approach is superior just because the tokenization method is not really proven out as of today, and
Mm.
you're getting public backlash against it. So one of the tokenized stocks that um, Robinhood was going to offer is OpenAI. And then, like days later, OpenAI comes out and says that's not real equity. Be careful. Like if those companies
Oh,
continue to come out and say be careful with it, then there's an uphill battle to fight with tokenization. OpenAI is not going to come out and say that about SoFi's offering because it is actual equity. It's fund managers partnering with SoFi to offer their equity up on these platforms. So it is real equity. It's real equity exchanging hands. So I do think that the SoFi method of partnering with fund managers is a little bit more proven and therefore will gain more short-term traction. But in the long term, I think tokenization has more upside because you don't have to partner with fund managers. You can bypass the middleman there, bypass fees, and just do straight tokenization of pretty much any asset, any equity out there. And so I think long term is a lot more potential than what Robinhood's doing. But in the short term, I think SoFi is has more short-term potential when it comes to democratizing access to private market investments.
gotcha. Wow, that not real equity is pretty scary to hear. It just sounds like a foretelling for like a rug pull or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, OpenAI is trying to protect their brand, so I get
Right.
why they came out and did that. They don't want to be, if it's not real equity, they want to be very clear it's not real equity, and they don't want their name attached to it. They don't want people to think that if that drops, it's because the value of OpenAI dropped. That it's different. It's fundamentally distinct. So they wanted to make that clear. And if SpaceX does the same thing, if Epic Games does the same thing, if Anthropic does the same thing, then Robinhood will have an uphill battle with that tokenization stuff. But again, long term, I think there's huge potential there. Just in the short term, if SoFi is doing something that OpenAI is not lamenting against, then yeah, you know what? Maybe that's the thing that people will choose.
Got it. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of NFTs, right? It's like you have ownership of this thing that is kind of this thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so that, I mean that again, that's yeah, tokenization, NFTs, derivative of the crypto universe. Trust is just a huge thing that
Yeah.
you gotta overcome there. It's a big challenge, big obstacle for adoption of all the crypto derivatives, if you will.
Gotcha. Now, speaking of stocks, I do want to get into our exponential stocks of the week. We want to pick it up with Symbiotic here.
Yeah, Symbotic's been on a heater. I mean, look at that stock recently. It had a massive breakout in late 22 into summer 23. Kind of fell flat for a long time, and then now it looks like it's having another breakout moment, decisively retaking its 200-day moving average, getting golden crosses with the 50, soon to go with the 100. Very strong move in the stock. I like this company fundamentally. Speaking of Amazon installing its 1 millionth robot, these guys are warehouse automators, not for Amazon, but for everybody else, Walmart,
Mhm.
Target, Albertsons. This is the company that will help those other retailers compete with Amazon and their automation. Amazon's on their millionth robot. Walmart's not even close. They got to catch up. Target's not even close. They got to catch up. Albertsons not even close. They got to catch up or they get left behind. This is the whole competitive capitalism thing at work with exponential technological progress. So Symbotic is the enabler for these other companies to catch up to Amazon in terms of warehouse automation. I love the company. I think it's got a lot of growth. The stock is now finally starting to wake up from its slump pump after a big early 23 rally. And I think this one does push higher from here. I think we take out this high of $65 from July of 23. I think we go to 100 by the end of the year on Symbotic.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, definitely a lot of runway for all of these other major warehouse companies, right?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, warehouse automation, it's kind of like low-hanging fruit in the robotics revolution, in my opinion. Because warehouse jobs, it's very like pattern recognition, very
Yeah.
formulaic. The environment is known. That's a big thing with robots is like, do you know your environment? Do you not know your environment? In a warehouse, the environment is known. Everything is where it's supposed to be, pretty much, more or less. So in known environments, robotics applications can have a big short-term positive impact, short-term positive lift.
Awesome. Okay. Next on the list, we have ENVX, Enovix.
A Novix battery maker kind of jumped into the spotlight a few years ago because of their next gen battery for electric vehicles, but now coming out there with its next, they've developed a new battery architecture. You can see the stock has kind of been languishing for a while, but now it's having a big breakout moment. They came out with a new battery architecture that essentially just allows batteries to be more dense and last longer and be more powerful and just overall better. And the initial pitch was, hey, we can use these batteries in electric vehicles, and that's where the stock got all hot back here in 21. And then it was like, wait, electric vehicles are kind of dying, and the stock's been struggling ever since. But now it's having a wake up moment because they are unveiling batteries, these next gen batteries, for usage in smartphones and for usage
Hmm.
in other devices that are now AI enabled, right? So if we do get edge AI devices, which I think we will, talk about AI glasses, talk about AI
Right.
enabled smartphones, AI enabled PCs, you're going to need better batteries, better battery performance out of those devices to really sustain all of that AI compute on the device itself. And that's where a company like Enovix can step into the fold. They can create better batteries for this AI enabled compute or for this AI compute on these AI enabled devices. And so that's why I think a company like Enovix is having a reawakening, if you will. I
Hmm.
do like the company. I think the company's battery technology is very legitimate. I've studied it pretty deeply. I think it's very legitimate. I think the people at the company are very strong. I think they do have a good chance of becoming a next gen battery supplier for the iPhone as it becomes, an AI phone for Galaxy and Droid devices as those become AI powered too. For a lot of these devices, they become more AI powered. For AI glasses, this could be your battery supplier for AI glasses. So I do think the long term potential here is enormous. The risks are very high because they're kind of just in like a beta phase and sampling phase and sending some stuff out to customers, not really at scale production. So risks are very high, but considering those risks and then the upside potential, I like the risk reward. I think it's an asymmetric bet skewed to the upside. I do think a Novik stock is one of those kind of lottery tickets that, hey, if you got the risk
Yeah.
appetite, maybe it does belong in your portfolio.
Gotcha. So think of it like a picks and shovels play for the AI boom, right?
Yeah, for the edge AI boom, I would say
Yeah.
specifically, as AI moves to the edge, which can be kind of closely tied to or correlated with the physical AI wave, right? Physical
Mm.
AI is all about bringing AI to the edge, bringing AI into the real world. These robots are going to need batteries. Maybe a Novix becomes a supplier for robots, right? These AI glasses are going to need batteries. Uh, let's say the self-driving car revolution does happen, that could spark a reawakening of the electric vehicle revolution because
Right.
presumably you would want these cars to be electric as well, just totally next gen all around. That could spark demand for a Novix. So there are a lot of different facets, a lot of different drivers that could spark demand, a demand surge for Novix batteries. And to me, that's why the risk, although it is risky, the risks are balanced by that diversity of demand, potential diversity of demand.
Got it. Cool. Okay. Now on to the next one. A name I was not expecting to see for a while. Sunrun.
We've talked about this one before.
Yeah.
It goes up and then it comes down. Look at that. Matt, I think this is when we talked about it the first time back in
Yeah.
May. massive boom, and then we're like, avoid it like the plague, and then now it's crashing, and then now it's trying to come back, and then now it's crashing again. Yeah, just stay away from this one. No matter how many times it'll show up on your weekly breakout scan, no matter how many times it has this like 50, 60% or 100% rally in a couple weeks, ignore it, stay away from it. It's in a secular downtrend. Solar is dead. I do not think solar has a comeback story. I don't think wind has a comeback story. Nuclear is antiquating it. And last week we talked about nuclear fusion and some of the big tech companies getting into
Yeah,
that. Once that truly does become a thing, it's going to obsolete wind and solar entirely. So stay away from Sunrun, stay away from the solar stocks. I don't think they are worth your money, attention, or time right now.
got it. Yeah, clear enough, Luke. Clear enough.
Yeah, sorry for being very bold with that, but yeah, that's how I feel.
For sure. Okay. Next up for number 4, we got Bit Digital.
Yeah, Bit Digital has been climbing. They're adding, I believe, Ethereum to the treasury.
That's right.
Yeah, this is one of those companies that's now going to start buying a bunch of cryptos. So they've been mining Bitcoin forever, but now they're adding Ethereum to their treasury, and yeah, you can see the stock's just kind of gone 199 to basically $2 to $4. We'll call it in what, a week, 2 weeks? Yeah, that's nice. That's wonderful. But let's zoom out. Whenever I see a stock making a big move, I love to zoom out. You see anything in this chart, Brooke? Let me ask you. See anything in this chart that says time to buy?
Not quite. Not
Yeah,
quite.
yeah. Nor do I. You can see this stock has been, it's obviously been wiped out, but since 23, 24, it's been subject to big short-term upswings that fail. Big short-term upswing that fail. Big short-term upswing fail. Big short-term upswing fail. Big short-term upswing fail. That's kind of how I will continue to see this move in BTBT. Very volatile stock. I'm a huge believer in cryptos. You know that. I really like the upside of Bitcoin. I
Yeah.
really like the upside of Ethereum. But I just think the way you play that is Bitcoin and Ethereum. You don't play that through BTBT, which has been languishing at depressed levels for a long time, is subject to massive short term upswings and then giving back all those gains and then some. That's what this looks like, a short term upswing before it gives back all its gains and then some.
That's interesting. I would have assumed a company like this would have had at least some kind of spike or growth with that Bitcoin reserve news that we got maybe a couple months back.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. You're seeing when it comes to cryptos, you are seeing a heavy concentration of investment.
mm,
So this is not a rising tide lifts all boats situation in the cryptoverse right now.
yeah.
You're seeing Bitcoin get a big boost. You're seeing things with exposure to stable coins get a big boost. And you're seeing things related to crypto trading get a big boost. But like altcoins, altcoin projects, Bitcoin miners, those things are not getting a big boost at all. They're still languishing around their lows of 2022. Those
Hmm.
things have not really gone up in tandem with Bitcoin. And that's why I'm saying you're seeing a concentration of investment in the crypto space. So what I think is happening is what's pushing these assets higher is institutional money. And the institutional money, they got a bazooka, but they're aiming the bazooka like a sniper. Okay.
Yeah.
They're focusing in on, I want Bitcoin, I want stable coin stuff, and I want crypto trading exchanges. Give me those three, and I don't want anything else. And so you're seeing all this money flow into Bitcoin. You're seeing all this money flow into stablecoin stuff. Look at Circle. You're seeing it flow into crypto exchanges. Look at Robinhood. Look at Coinbase. But you're not seeing a waterfall effect there or a flow through effect to things like BTBT, to things like Solana, or things down the market cap spectrum in the cryptoverse and the altcoins. You're just not seeing it. Those things are still wiped out. So is that going to change? You know, I've been thinking it's going to change for over a year now, and it just hasn't. So I still think it will change. I think eventually we're going to have like a floodgate moment where the floodgates open, and all of a sudden all this money flows into those other assets. But it hasn't happened yet, and the fact that it hasn't happened yet does concern me at least a little.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. There has not been, at least in like regular pop culture news, there hasn't been another Doge in a very long time, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's been like those political meme coins, the Trump coin, and all the
Right.
derivatives and all that stuff. Like there have been some political meme coins that have absolutely shot up. But yeah, nothing that's really gained enough traction to. I mean, Doge is a top 10, top 15 coin in terms of market cap, right? We haven't
Mhm.
seen that this cycle. We haven't seen one just come out of nowhere and get into the top 10, top 15. You've seen had these political meme coin one offers, but that's about it in terms of like super cycle growth that we've seen in the altcoin verse. There has not been a lot of positive action in altcoins.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, if it hasn't happened, it not necessarily indicative of the future, but it does say a lot, right?
Yeah, you got to ask why not? Like why
Yeah.
hasn't it yet? And most recently, especially because you're seeing meme stocks go crazy. There's been a lot
Mm.
of write-ups about how all this how the markets have been acting lately. And one of the key features of the market recently is that you're seeing meme stocks and these kind of, they call them the YOLO stocks. The stocks, he's like, you only live once, like, let's just throw it all on black, right? Like, you're seeing those
Yeah, yeah.
stocks absolutely have a moment, kind of like BTBT a little bit right now. But you're not seeing that in altcoins. And that's strange behavior. Back in the 2021 super cycle, you had YOLO stocks and YOLO altcoins move in tandem. When the YOLO stocks went off, the YOLO altcoins went off too. People put money to work in both of them. But people are only putting money to work in one of them right now, the YOLO stocks, not the YOLO altcoins. Why? I don't have an answer there, but the fact that it exists, that gap exists, is troubling.
Mm,
Somewhat troubling. It's not thesis negating, but it's troubling.
gotcha. Yeah, maybe we can dig into that in a future episode for sure. Um, but I would like to round off on our exponential stocks with Wolf Speed.
Wolf speed, pulling the chart right now. Big move off the low. 40 cents to what? Actually, that's a huge. The chart, this is how blown up the stock is. Okay, so this stock has gone from 40 cents to $2.60. This stock has gone up. I mean, that's an unreal move. And then now look at this. The stock has been so blown out. It's gone from $140 down to that 40 cent level. It's, yeah, 40 cent level now. So it's like, this gives me Sunrun vibes. This just gives me
Yeah,
Sunrun vibes. You know, it's got that oversold RSI and then bounce up into nearly overbought territory. So you get an oversold bounce, that knee jerk, but we're still below a downtrending 200-day moving average. We're still below a downtrending 100-day moving average. There's no real critical technical breaks happening. We're still very clearly in a downtrend. There is no reason to get FOMO and pile into wolf speed here. This is when I'm talking about like YOLO stocks, right? Like this is kind of like one of those YOLO stock moments. You know, this is a stock that went from 40 cents to $2.60 in a matter of a week or two. That's incredible, but it's not a great company. It's kind of just getting that tide or getting that momentum from that YOLO trade. And I think it gets rejected pretty soon. And I would not.
got it. Okay. Yeah, sunrun vibes might be a new term we have on this podcast, right?
Vibes. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Now that does wrap up our exponential stock section. I want to get into lifestyle, and I want to talk about specifically a positive of AI. We want to dive into AI being used to kill drugs. Um, AI Alpha Google has a subsidiary in Isomorphic Labs, and it's initiating clinical trials for AI to develop cancer drugs. Now, cancer is the big bad boogeyman of the medical industry, and if we can get AI to help solve that, that would be amazing. That would probably save more lives in the future than AI is taking, right? So, what are your thoughts on that, Luke?
I mean, I think long term AI uh, eradicates disease globally. Like, I think I'm not talking next 5 to 10 years, but I think in our lifetimes, maybe 20 to 30 years, I do think that we will live in a nearly disease-free world, both for humans and for crops and maybe even animals, things that matter. And I think that will be enabled by one, AI-powered drug discovery. So well, actually, first off, kind of AI simulation with diseases. So a lot of times we can't fix things because we don't know what the heck is going on with our bodies or with
Right.
pests or crops or whatever it may be. I think we're going to have AI simulation that's going to allow us to simulate so many different sort of scenarios with human bodies. Let's just stick with humans for now. With human bodies that will allow us to identify diseases on the spot. So it's like, oh, we've ran the simulation before with AI. So when you come in, we know exactly what it is. We can match it right to a simulation that's been run before. So I think disease identification, AI powered disease identification is going to be huge. I think AI powered drug discovery is going to be huge. So not only is identifying the problem is only half the problem, you got to now fix the problem. You got to solve the problem. If you run all these AI simulations to identify all these possible problems with the human body, with the human genome, whatever it may be, and then we run AI drug discovery to find solutions for that. And then once we find solutions that seem to work via simulations, we start human trials, which is what Isomorphic Labs is doing, right? Clinical trials. So obviously the AI drug identification or disease identification stuff is going on. Obviously the AI drug simulation stuff is going on. Now we're getting into the AI powered human trial stuff going on. So we take the drugs that were made this way and now we're trialing them with human results. And I think we can actually kind of accelerate that process because we don't need to run as many tests. That may sound
Mhm.
scary to some people, but you can do extrapolation, right? You can have a smaller sample set and extrapolate from that if you have good enough AI to analyze that data set. So I think we can kind of accelerate a lot of that stuff too, or at least decrease the size necessary of those studies. So I think because of all that, the developments in the biotech industry will happen more frequently and more rapidly. And that will allow us to eventually, it's going to be exponential, it's going to build on each other, okay? And so I think that'll get us to a point in the next 20 to 30 years where we have identified nearly every disease out there, every possible disease
Right.
out there. We have identified cures for all these possible diseases. And when you come into a hospital or whatever, checkup, whatever it may be, there's an AI scanner that immediately identifies if you have anything similar to what the AI simulations have found, and then immediately administers the cure or the fix that you're looking for, the drug that you need to fix that ailment. So yeah, 20 to 30 years, I think that disease will be, if not eradicated, at least hardly a problem for the world, and that seems to be a very underrated investment theme in the markets. Biotech stocks have not done particularly well in the last few years because it's been a high interest rate environment. These are long duration assets. They are the quintessence of long duration assets. They do well in low rate environments, not high rate environments. So that's really been a weight on them. But I think eventually the market's going to wake up to the huge potential of biotech AI, and you're going to get some really big breakouts in that space, if not in the whole sector. And that's kind of a sleeper application of AI that I'm looking for in the next 5 to 10 years, where you could get some of your biggest winners in biotech AI.
Yeah, definitely. I want to spitball a little bit too. There was some controversy in the maybe 2 months ago with 23andMe and data being sold, yada yada yada. However, if we have our human genomes, we map those, and then we plug that into AI also, and then you have this convergence of your personal genome with this particular disease and this particular cure or treatment. It's almost like everything can be tailor made to AI to fit you perfectly, right? Like the sky is the limit when it comes to just kind of letting the prompt do all the work with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, AI, the fuel for AI is data, and
Yeah.
the human body produces so much unique data, and so if we can train it on all that data, and then you come in and you provide a data set when you go in for a doctor checkup, and you can
Hmm.
match that data set with what it's pre-trained on, or at least, get something similar to it, then boom. Yeah, I mean, you can create all these personalization options that just were not available 5, 10 years ago, or even available today, really. So, yeah, I think the upside potential here is absolutely enormous. And again, it's really being underrated and undervalued by the market. And I think that you're going to have patience when it comes to biotech AI, because again, the high rate environment's really providing a ceiling on these stocks. But I think as soon as you get rid of that ceiling, there's so much pent up energy and demand there that they're going to burst through that ceiling and never look back. So if you have patience, I would look in the biotech AI sector for some potential long term winners.
For sure. And yeah, that would be a win-win for everyone, right?
I think a lot of the AI stuff, people get scared of it. I think it creates a lot of win-wins. I think it creates a lot of win-wins. I think there are obviously downside risks, AI jobs correction, etc. But I think net net, it produces a lot of win-wins.
Definitely. Okay. That wraps it up for lifestyle. And I wanted to close off with another exponential question, Luke. We talked about these or this particular niche in the market last week a little bit, but I wanted to ask you if, off the top of your head, you can give us your top three defensive AI stocks or AI stocks that deal in defense. What are you thinking about? What have you thought about? Or um, which ones do you see doing the best in the next 5 years?
So I would say defense AI stocks. Kratos is up there. Kratos is the ticker KTOS. I would say Planet Labs is up there, ticker
Mhm.
PL. And then I would say probably, let's see, probably Lidos would be up there, ticker LDOS. I think they're doing some really cool things with AI. So I would say those are probably my three favorite right now. Tough for me to, I haven't analyzed the whole space in depth in the last week or so, but as of my most recent research into the space, I would say Kratos, Planet Labs, and Lidos are three of my favorite, not my three favorite, three of my favorite defense AI stocks.
Fantastic. Nice and easy. Okay. That finishes all of our sections. Do you think there's anything we might have missed this week that you'd like to talk about, Luke?
No, I think we covered the range of topics this week. I think people shouldn't sleep on the New America Party. I think there's a lot of potential there, and I don't think people should sleep on what's going on with Meta and all their talent grabbing, what's going on with OpenAI and all the deals they
Mhm.
have going on, what's going on with Amazon and Symbiotic and all the warehouse automation happening. Trade war headlines are dominating the headlines right now, but the more important stuff's happening underneath the hood, and that stuff, don't sleep on it. It's overwhelmingly positive for the AI sector. So if the trade war stuff does create some interim weakness here, um, buy the dips. I think that these stocks are going a lot higher, not just over the next few months, but over the next few years as well.
All right. Yep, by the dip. And now that's been another week of Being Exponential with Luke Lango. Hope you enjoyed your time with us. We definitely enjoyed sharing the information with you. We hope to see you next week. Take care.